Chapter 1. The Weight of the Lost. You know what else I miss? What's that? Mama's fry-ups. You serious? Hardly ever, but more so these days, I guess. You just had to go there, now of all bloody times. Hey, I'm only saying, when do you reckon we're likely to chow down on something so delicious again? It's like, you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone, you know? And it's taken you how long to suss that one out, Scott? With a sharp glance over the shoulder, a move rapidly ingrained into subconscious through necessity, Scott bent to retrieve a soot-coated stuffed bear from the ground. His lips twisted, expression crumpling for the briefest moment under the weight of the world. Do you know what I mean, Jessie? Hey, you think Sprout would like this? Jessie turned from the dusty, ransacked shelves and blew a strand of strawberry hair from her vision. Maybe after a wash first. Scott furrowed his brow, turning the bear in his hands. It's not that bad. Oh. He gently squeezed the plush, sooty toy, eyes drawn to the foreboding, mortal blood stain soaked into the back of the head. Tears welled in his eyes, and Jessie was quick to react. She closed the gap between them and rested a hand on his. I miss her too. Chloe was... I know. Thanks. Jessie's strained smile fought to raise warmth as she planted a half-hearted kiss on Scott's cheek, then mopped dust from his dirty blonde mane. Bring it with us. Sprout will love the surprise. Hector promised he'd fetch us something. Scott snorted. That fucking moron. Oh shit. Jess, I'm so sorry. Only the corner of Jessie's lips reacted in an attempt to camouflage her concern. She turned, gulped, adjusted her backpack, and withdrew to an unforaged area of the haggard store. I didn't think, Scott backpedaled, floundering through his woeful words as he sifted through another desolate shelf. He stifled a grime-induced sneeze, then said, he's always been hard as nails, and I'm sure it's okay. Let's just not, yeah? Jessie connected her palm to her tiny gift, her most precious cargo, and disguised a sniffle, finding it futile to focus suddenly against a growing wooziness. Hey! Not so loud, Jessie hissed over her shoulder. Duct tape, Scott whisper yelled, slipping the discovery into his bag with an exultant grin. Sounds delicious. I can see the kids' faces lighting up now. Again, Jessie's hand shifted on instinct. Scott finished exploring his section, kicked a dislodged, broken shelf aside, and turned to face her awkwardly. Hey, you know I'm always going to be here for you, right? You better be, said Jessie, hands supporting her lower back while she stretched, officially abandoning her current search area. Rule number 1, remember? You got that right, Scott nodded. 2 against the world. 3 now. Though the smile which brightened Scott's features carried genuine warmth, the truth of his worry was impossible to disguise. What? Jessie demanded, hand rooted to hip in an assertive stance. Just say it. Scott shook his head. Don't need to. I know you're thinking it. I know you're thinking it too. Fuck's sake. Sorry about that. Scott shook his head. Don't need to. I know you're thinking it too. I can practically feel it. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to worry about what this means, about how this plays out. If Heck doesn't make it back... Jessie nibbled her upper lip, battling a troubled contortion of her squirrely features. I only mean, I got your back. I know what it's like after Chloe. So, anything you need, you just say, okay? Don't shut me out. Gathering a deep breath, Jessie met his gaze, a chilly confidence about her. I don't need protecting. And I'm not kidding myself. Heck left us. And I'm not mad. Not anymore. I mean, sure, I was pissed at first, but I get why he did it. Family's family, you know. But I'm sure as shit not going to be some damsel clinging on to false hope or an idiot's optimism. If he's not dead by now, then he's wishing he was. That's no future for either of us. Again, her hand shifted protectively. What's done can't be undone. Fuck the past. You don't mean that. Come on, sis. You know I'm the one person you can't lie to. A dull thud echoed from above, drawing anxious glances across the room on high alert, darting across overturned crates, between toppled shelves and into every last shadow. As wary animals settling from the past threat of predators, they slowly met each other's eyes again. Jessie clipped her tongue, leaned on her back foot, and angled her head in a display offering blended sympathy and scorn. Listen, you might be struggling with our new reality, Scotty, but me, I see clear as the day they stole from us. Pretty soon you'll have to face up to the truth. In this world, only the strong have a hope at surviving. Hector's dead, or worse, and there's no sense dwelling on it. Do I wish this kid could grow up with a father? Of course I fucking do. But that's not a reality. It's just a dream now. And a useless one at that. One that'll only get us all killed. Scott set his bag down at his feet and opened his mouth to speak. Guys, a hushed voice called from behind. I think this place is tapped. We ready to bounce? Not yet, said Scott, while his sister responded, let's do it. A scrawny lad, little over 15, and even that was being generous, appeared from the stairway carrying a tattered bag with plenty of room to spare. A set of dented goggles hung around his neck and what could be construed by the rational as both a fashion statement and tactical dress. He shook his dishevelled chestnut hair from his doe eyes and glanced between the siblings. Look, I get moving on, said Scott. I'm all for it, but Chess, it's been days since Heck took off, and you're talking like there's no hope left anymore. This isn't the time or the bloody place for this. Did you find anything useful, Gary? Don't change the subject. Scott snagged his sister's arm and suffered a fierce glare. You can't just hide from this. Maintaining eye contact with her brother, Iris burning with buried emotion, Jessie repeated her query as a parent to a child. Gary, any luck up there? Not much, really. A handful of canned beans and fruit and stuff. Nothing especially tasty. Oh, and some batteries. A half-hearted smile crossed Jessie's lips, softening her stare. Nice. Well, I figured that about tops us off with enough for a few more days. Come on, let's bust. We've been out here for too long now anyway. The kids will start freaking out if we don't make it back soon. Jessie, Scott implored, fetching his bag and pursuing her flight. Hey, slow down. Look, we need to talk about this sometime. And why the hell is that, Scotty? Jessie's voice swelled to dangerous levels, restraint slackened by surging sentiment. Because of what happened to Chloe, you think you've got some mystical sort of insight into what I'm going through? No, because I'm your goddamn twin, you moron. Guys, you said it yourself after we found her body, Scott continued, unaware of Gary's intrusion. You knew how it felt, just like we've always known how each other were feeling since we were babies. Guys? Oh, and so that means I have to talk about this. Have to relive each moment where my child gets to grow up with only a mother? What? Do you want me to have a fucking breakdown right here? Would that make you happy? Tell me, Scotty, how the hell is that going to help? Go on, tell me! Jessie's pace gathered momentum, a merciless storm raging through the bleak, wrecked store. Guys? Gary's anxious voice trembled. Have you forgotten what Mum used to say? Scott fired back. Jess, I feel like I'm going to explode from this. How can you be so cold about it? Because I don't have a choice. I have a fucking life growing inside me during the end of the goddamn world. Or did you forget? Jesus, fuck! Distracted, Jessie booted a box from her path, rather than avoiding it as sense and survival would dictate. Scott, in a minute, Gary! Scott hushed their younger companion with a backwards wave, focus locked on his sister as he traced her route through the debris. Why can't you see the world for what it's become? Jessie acted as though she couldn't even hear the youngster. Do you honestly think you'll last if you don't start? I mean, what? You need more convincing than eternal fucking night or the earth swallowing us whole that everything's gone to hell and we're all just swimming in the shit, waiting to be picked off for some supernatural shouldn't exist son of a bitch's lunch. And what do you reckon Mum would have to say about your new outlook? How about Dad? Jessie whirled round to face him then, cutting off the exit. Her features twitched for a passing moment as she shackled true feeling tighter in the impregnable, walled-off depths of her heart and said through gritted teeth, They're dead, Scotty. What good is it going to do either of us wondering what they might say? I know you don't believe that. Guys? In a minute, Gary! The siblings responded in unison. It's just, I thought I heard something. The non-identical twins finally acknowledged the youngster with their full attention, blended with equal parts irritation, realization, and apprehension. In a heartbeat, the trio became as human gazelle. Silence. The gentle howl of the breeze gusting through a shattered window. the faint stench of gone-off produce wafting from dead refrigerators. A rustle. 3 pairs of restless eyes tracked a mouse scampering across the floor, darting between shadows and escaping from sight. False alarm, Jessie announced, relenting a fine attempt at sweeping shades of panic from her demeanour. Can we get out of here now? This time, the twins paid Gary's timid request greater heed. Yeah, I'll say. I feel weird. Itchy, kinda. Instinct once again guided Jessie's movements, shielding against the unknown. Scott swung his bag around the front and tunneled through the contents, worry clouding his determined expression. Sickness again? Or cramps? Or is it... Jessie's hand clasped his forearm, curbing his efforts. Can you feel that? She asked under her breath, frantic eyes darting in every direction. Dancing in every direction, actually. Guys, please, implored Gary, trembling as much as his voice, gaze running throughout the store and to the exit, only a short sprint away. I really don't want to be here anymore. Yeah, Jessie said with a wary nod. You can say that again. Look, just hold on a sec, alright? Scott reversed his sister's grip as she withdrew, holding her in place. Scotty, this isn't the time. It never is. Look, we're fine. Just let me say this, okay? Scott collected a deep breath, scanning the room as he readjusted his bag. His hand fell to the hilt of a broad dagger hanging from his belt, another move fast ingrained into subconscious. Jessie's eyes traced the precautionary act, then lifted to meet her brother's arctic blues. She shifted her weight between her feet, fingertips brushing the pistol holstered at her side. I wouldn't have made it after Chloe. Not without you and Heck. I was spiraling and you caught me. Remember what you told me? You said the clock was ticking twice as fast these days, that with time slipping away so quick, all we've got are the little moments, that we've got to cherish them and bring them as much light as we can. His eyes darted out the nearest window, addressing the perennial darkness of the false night. I said a lot of things. Yeah, and you nailed it. It ain't right and it ain't fair that Heck ran off like that. I guess he figured it was his mess to clean up somehow, that the kids needed us too bad to risk our lives alongside his. Jessie shuffled in frustration. God, love you, bro, but get to the point. Just don't let this take you over, okay? I'm here for you. I'm not losing my sister, especially not when she saved my life. You wouldn't let me do anything I'd regret. Well, I wouldn't either. You get me? Jessie almost chuckled, a reaction as troubling as any Scott had expected, sweeping her trailing hair back with a nonchalant flick to avert her eyes. As she greeted her brother's gaze again, however, the mask fell, betraying undisguised the turmoil she wrestled with. What if I got it all wrong, though? Jessie faltered. What if we all did? What are you talking about? Guys? I mean, what if we weren't meant to survive? What if this is it? Game over past the controller, and we just screwed up by not even knowing when to take a bow and leave the bloody stage? What if all Mum's talk about the rapture wasn't bull after all? What if we just weren't good enough? Tears shimmered in her eyes, and Jessie was quick to dab them away. What if we weren't worthy? Guys, what if all this is just... Jessie clamped her hand to her forehead, legs buckling. Scott flew with the swiftness of an eagle, catching his sister a fraction before Gary appeared alongside to lend his aid. What is it? What's wrong? Guys? Not now, Gary! Scott snapped. I'm not sure. Jessie gulped, a sudden sweat forming on her clammy brow. But I think we need to get back home. Now. Guys? Shh! Jessie hushed the pair. Breeze howling through the broken window. A light rustle. Heavy, panicked breathing. Scott's shirt grew sticky, plastered to him with mixed sweat and grime. His heartbeat echoed in his ears, and a choking dryness beyond mere thirst claimed his throat. Someone's coming, murmured the siblings in unison. Time for a drink. It's not alcohol. The cigarette, burned to the butt, struck the floor, bounced twice, then met its end under their firm heel donned with spiffy Italian loafers. The skeletal owner reached into his dark pinstripe suit jacket, removed a comb, and drew it through his black, slick-back hair. Smell that? He asked, crooked lips twisting into a toothy grin. His companion, a stocky biker adorned in leather, patches, chains and spikes, sporting a hefty beard, cracked his neck side to side, then each gloved knuckle in accompaniment to the crunching melody. "God damn," he grunted, savouring another whiff. "How does it smell so fucking sweet? I ain't never known anything like it." The suit craned his head to acknowledge the biker, the dagger of his mouth curving into the most unnatural, wicked smirk. "We are blessed, as I promised you. The fall, as you called it, was nothing to fear. No, not a cause for terror, but rather an awakening for the worthy. A chance for us all to escape the purposeless monotony of mundane lives and embrace transcendence. To live as gods among mortals. You got too many fancy lawyer-like words for power, but you weren't fooling, buddy. Naturally, the hunger must be eating you alive, no?" "Fucking famished," said the biker, licking his lips, glistening fangs extending in an instinctive, almost serpentine manner from his canines. The suit drew in another whiff of the prey and their collective scents. Fresh, youthful blood, infused with life. Mouth-watering, the succulent definition of irresistible. 3 of them. You recall the rule? The salivating biker nodded. "Ain't no idiot." He started towards the crumbling store entrance. The suit's bony hand barred his path, halting the youngster across his meaty chest. "Were it not for your persisting habit of stringing together double negatives, I might actually believe that. How fortunate for you there is a place for all walks of life within our ranks. All types and skills, all shapes and sizes." The suit raised a mocking eyebrow. "Once more, if you please." "The fuck's it matter for?" The suit fixed the biker with a menacing glare. "It matters because I say it does. And I say it does because otherwise flies in direct violation of the law. Our law. Rules separate us from anarchy, my shaggy fledgling. And while you may have relished a sense of chaos in days past, you belong to the Queen and her Lord's legions now, as do we all. And if I wish to glimpse her majesty with my own 2 eyes again, I must prove myself amidst the dense thicket of those ranks, a purpose I suggest you, too, devote yourself to." An evident difficulty in following the suit's words scrunched the biker's features with an ugly, dim-witted puzzlement. After careful consideration, he asked, "Why should I give a shit?" The suit returned another devilish grin. "Simply put, power." "Shit," whispered Jessie, returning from her vantage point, hunched and shuffling as fast as possible. "One of them's coming in. They know we're here. They can smell us," Gary whimpered, quivering in the corner, pale as a phantom. "We should have left. Scott's hands on his shoulders silenced Gary, snatching him back to awareness. "Out the back." He indicated the far door with a nod, voice scarce a note on the breeze, gestures accompanying his mouthed words. "Stay low. Move quick. Don't look back." Did you hear that? "Stay low. Move quick. Don't look back." Just in case. "Fucking hell," said the biker, blowing a low whistle as he navigated the trashed remains of the dingy local store hiding his quarry. He stifled a cruel chuckle as his sharp eyes skimmed across his environs, predatory and filled with childlike wonder. He had never been particularly exceptional at anything in life. Even among his former clan, he had ranked decidedly in the middle of the pack. But now the powerful sensations flowing through his body inflamed him. Emboldened, his every movement and word felt ineffable, purposeful, his desired outcome a guarantee, beyond mere hope. "I'm gonna find you." The biker crept quieter than a mouse, though still, very definitely, to those paying attention, announcing his whereabouts. The scuffing of a shoe whispered in his ear, drawing the biker's gaze to one of the rear doors, and sinister intent curled the corner of his mouth into a sly smile. Too easy. It's another scene change. Jessie signalled to her brother in the silent code they developed for just such an occasion. One simple question. "Clear?" She had volunteered to help deaf children years ago, and not long after the world changed, had swiftly adapted what she remembered of sign language into an emergency communication system. Each time she'd had cause to use the code, a palpable surge of surfacing memories of her time with the deaf youths had greeted Jessie. Though those recollections often led to somber thoughts over the past months, dwelling on the dire misfortune of such a handicap in times like these, this time, huddled behind broken storage units, ignoring the odour of piss being added to by the nervous Gary, hiding for their lives, all she could muster was a simple notion. They're better off dead. Every last one of them. The darkness of her mindset sent an unsettling ripple through her, one Jessie was unsure if truly tangible or wildly imagined. She jerked back into the moment as Scott whispered as loud as he dared, "Jessie!" Pulse racing, she shook her head, refocusing, and lifted her brows in a questioning arch. Scott peered around the corner with tremendous caution, then repeated his signal. All clear. "Okay," murmured Jessie. "Can you hear that?" Okay, murmured Jessie, emerging from hiding and beckoning to Gary. She placed a slender finger to her chafed lips and let out a shh so low to carry hardly a decibel reading, which she followed with a gesture for haste. As the trio rejoined one another, Jessie noted the rising heartbeat pulsing in her head. Except it wasn't hers, she realised as Gary drew nearer, tremulous to a bizarrely matching rhythm. Then it happened. Is that the next page? I think that's the next page. Yep. "I thought you said this was my hun," growled the biker. "And how the shit heaving fuck did you get round the back so quick?" "With legs, and skill far outweighing your own. I'm afraid plans have changed, Milo." "The fuck's that mean?" "Bollocks to that. I ain't wasting my time on you while there's meals on fucking legs trapped in this dump. You already led me here thinking you was them." The suit groaned, massaging the bridge of his nose. "Of all I could address about such atrocious use of language," he said, harsh tone, hushed, weighted with authority. "I believe I shall leave it at a simple demeaning of your ability." The biker scratched his head with thick, sausage-like fingers. "The hell do you mean?" "There is power here, Milo. Strength far beyond you, though in its infancy. From one in particular. And for another," a somewhat muted cry pricked up the ears of each bloodsucker. The suit met the gaze of his fledgling companion. "They're hardly trapped," he concluded, fangs extending from perfect concealment, then added, "Yet." Getting old, my back. "Jesus, are you okay?" "They heard that. They must have. We need to get out of here, now! But are you got another goddamn time, Scott?" Jessie hadn't intended to snap at her brother like that, or to raise her voice so much. She had always been prone to bouts of heightened emotion, but who could honestly claim otherwise? She prided herself on her self-control in even the tensest situations, at least to a respectable degree. Her parents had often commented on the strength of her emotional intelligence, but she had felt that control waning in the months since everything ended, overcome with something new, a shifting paradigm she recognised was far from new in reality. Its polar opposite, in fact, though she just couldn't explain it. "Quick, while we can," Jessie urged, tearing past Scott, as consumed by urgent dread of the fiends hunting them, as by the unstoppable wriggling sensations churning beneath the surface of her skin which had compelled her cry. Was it the child, or something else? She did not know. She paused at the doorway and lined her eye along the narrow crack between the door and frame. "Okay, run!" The words had barely fallen from her mouth when the wall behind Gary exploded, caved in through the brute force of a man-sized wrecking ball. A spectre, silently observing, waiting, the suit-donned vampire skirted the edges of the building, covering the waves of displaced ground with the agility of a feline and missing none of the spectacle. While his new addition to the legions of night was proving at every avenue to be as dim-witted as he had predicted, the fledgling bloodsucker was also already fulfilling the entertainment value the suit had hoped for. He had never been one for grandiose displays, not when he had been alive, at any rate. In the years since his delivery to darkness, however, an appreciation for those same displays had dug its roots into the core of his being. Still, his place would forever be one of patience and calculation, one ever poised to claim victory and revel in the pure pleasures afforded by the dramatic. "Scatter, lost lambs," he said, licking his tongue across his fangs, following the chaos inside. Of course, as expected, the human scavengers dispersed a heartbeat after Milo burst in on them. The older male, whose scent bore striking similarity to the girl's, swung a wild, defensive arc to clear space for the younger lad to escape. A gallant gesture, considered the suit, combing his slick hair back once again. Got there. "One I might even have respected. Once," he snickered, stowing the comb into his jacket and skirting more of the building, hopping the cracks in the road and fallen detritus, villainous, slanted gaze still fixed on the show. The bumbling Milo had actually feared the boy's knife. What a fool, thought the sneering suit. His fledgling could not conceive of the laurels in store for this catch, nor did he possess any true concept of his full strength. Not that this bore any significance for the suit. He had sired the oafish biker, Milo, for one purpose alone, satisfying the law. Now, though, Milo served a far grander design, one which suited his devious pinstripe-wearing maker marvellously. To hell with Milo. All he needs to do is... Damn, where's that blasted girl? The suit slipped around a crumpled, overturned car, a sad shell of its former self, and adjusted his angle. "Ah!" he exhaled a relieved sigh, then sniggered as the young, red-haired girl clouted Milo in the face with a giant wooden beam, a strike from an admirable spot which granted the youths the breathing room they sought. "Run!" Jessie screamed, wincing from a large splinter in the palm as she followed her own advice. A stray idea captured her mind for a fleeting moment. Surely she wasn't recoiling from a simple splinter. Such an insignificant twinge of pain, so slight as to question if imagined? No, it was something else. A vibe her very bones and blood seemed to be crying out. If only she could decipher the entire message. She made it to the threshold first, followed promptly by Gary, who, although beyond terrified, had stepped up and remembered their plan for occasions such as this. A relay-style game of tag, keeping the fiend distracted, unfocused. It was a tactic which had served them well to date, though could not hold a candle compared with the absolute avoidance of the country's new undead owners. Standing in that doorway, hand guarding her unborn, Gary crossing the threshold beside her, Scott bolting towards freedom, Jessie's blood ignited in a white-hot burning sensation, lava flowing through her veins, a warning finally relinquishing its bitter truth. A warning realised too late. "Let go of me, you tanless son of a bitch! Jessie!" Milo seized the youth's distraction and his shoulders, then flung him back into the ruined store. "Scotty! You piece of sleaze shit, let me go! If you hurt him, motherfucker, I swear I'll do be quiet, girl," the suit purred in Jessie's ear, effortlessly resisting her ineffectual struggles for freedom. Drawing his aquiline nose along her neck, he drew in a whiff and his dangerous smile widened. "You are a treasure, to be true." Let her go!" The vampire acknowledged the youngest of the trio and his wavering gun with utter amusement, features twisting in cruel mockery. Gary squeezed the trigger, carving through the air inches from the suit's ear, by all accounts a lucky shot, and quelling his entertainment. "Insignificant twerp," the suit hissed. He craned his head to catch Jessie's wild, frenzied eyes, blazing with every ounce of the passion she exerted into her thrashing for liberation. "Do not fear this, Jessie. Today is the beginning of your eternity." Before his final word had fallen, both the suit-donned fiend and his prize vanished from sight, moving swifter than human eyes could follow, leaving only gathering dust and skittering debris beside the helpless, trembling Gary. Milo presented a vicious cackle, full of self-assurance, while stalking towards Scott, who, winded, was struggling to rise, using the counter which had so injured him as a support. The gunshot, and subsequent departure of his maker, caused a transient distraction in Milo, but the thirst had him under its influence now, consumed, enslaved to the will of desire. The throb of Scott's pulsing blood flooded his ears. The delectable scent of fear wafted in his nostrils as the most intoxicating of seasonings, luring him, calling in yearning to the darkest reaches of his being. a primal urge so rooted it formed more a need than a want. Milo snarled, saliva dripping from his fangs, a beast released, savagery uncaged, as it had been the first time. A pang of something Milo vaguely recognized as guilt stabbed him in the heart, though it died in the blink of an eye, its effects distant as the horizon, a faded memory surrendering to the ecstasy of the hunt. Milo dwelt on the sensation for only a cursory second. Thirst claimed him in its singular, compelling clutches, unwilling to allow divergence, and he capitulated to it entirely, willing and grateful. Had he been gifted with a sharper mind, perhaps he would have acknowledged the strings of this inhuman thirst, driving him like an intangible entity infesting every molecule, demanding subservience. Perhaps then he could have become more. Milo, however, was the ideal puppet, and always had been. Scott made it to his feet, still supporting himself on the counter, and his left leg buckled, dropping him a few inches. Milo drew nearer to his defenceless prey. With a desperate shift, Scott curved his dagger in a defiant, feeble attempt to establish distance. Milo caught the boy's forearm and twisted, disarming the youth and drawing him closer. All Milo's sense of the world around him melted away, succumbing to the thirst, to the rhythm of the blood pounding in his ears, slithering through the essence of all that he was. Though Scott gave escape his all, it was no use. Milo had him now, ensnared and isolated from hope. "No!" Scott cried out, terror fusing his blood scent with unimaginable sweetness. Milo's fangs closed in. Inches away, there was only the blood, the thirst, prey and predator, the hunted and the hunter, and a sharp, intentional whistle. A human whistle. And then a notably less human whistle.